Hello, it's Brett Taylor here from Tour Tactics, and today my special guest is Phil Jonas. Phil has played the PGA Tour, PGA Tour Canada, PGA Tour de Las Americas, Asian Tour, South African Tour, and of course the local Vancouver Golf Tour. Phil's played quite a number of different tours throughout his career and is now a full-playing member of the European Senior Tour after qualifying through their rigorous Q school. And just to give the listeners an idea of the level that Phil has played at in his career, he's played with guys like Gary Player, Nick Faldo, even Bobby Locke, Payne Stewart, Nick Price, Ernie Els, and a long list. I ran into Phil in the Toronto airport this past week on his return trip from his European Senior Tour event in Switzerland, where he played the fourth stop on the schedule and had his first top 10 finish. Welcome to the call, Phil.
Thanks, Brett.
So I'd like to kind of take a peek inside your mind today, and I know that you've got a vast amount of experience in golf and especially in winning as well. I know when it comes to the mental side of the game, as we've talked about before, you've worked with some experts in the area. Bob Rotella, you've been to Vision 54, you've worked with Richard Coop a little bit. And I know you teach as well, and you do integrate some of the mental side of the game into your teaching. So, but just before we get into that, can you tell me a little bit about your experience with fitness? I know when we spoke in the airport the other day, that was something you mentioned. I just want to kind of touch on that briefly and how that's affected your game, both physically and mentally.
Well, fitness obviously is a big factor. Unfortunately, I never listened to my dad, who exercised every day of his life from the age of 19 till when he died at 93. And he always harped on me about staying physically fit and exercising, and I didn't really listen to it that well. But in the last 5 or 6 years, as I got older, I decided that I was getting inflexible and it was getting difficult. So I sought out a trainer that was a golf expert. Her name's Jenny Grills, and we started working together about 6 or 7 years ago. She's way more than just a trainer, and so I started working with her to get a little more flexible, and also to be fit enough to play, because I was hoping to play some senior golf when that happened, but also to lead a good life. I felt like I needed to be fit, so that life would be good. And so that's what I've done, and so I've been pretty good about it. Although I believe in treating everything in moderation. So I do exercise, but in moderation. I'm not a fanatic, and it's more. Actually, at 51, it's about trying to break even, as opposed to getting ahead of the game.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So how has that sort of affected your golf game?
Well, actually, it's helped a lot in the sense that I've actually think I've got stronger. I believe that I hit the ball longer now than I ever did, and I'm not talking about the advancements in technology that have made everybody go longer. If I played the last time I played a Canadian Tour event, I was longer in relation to the field than I was when I was playing full time. I felt like I was. When I played full time, I would routinely play in a group where I was the shortest hitter. And the last few times I played, I hardly ever was not the longest hitter. So I think that has helped me a lot. And it paid dividends last week in Switzerland, because the course was very narrow, and I was able to hit my 2-iron off these narrow tees, and I could actually hit my 2-iron as far as a lot of the guys were hitting their driver. So
wow.
That certainly helps. But so I think that the fitness, it's helped there a little bit, and also it's helped in terms of when you play, not getting tired out there. Being able to play a hilly course, all those kind of things. Because as you get older, it becomes more difficult.
Absolutely. And does that sort of help you mentally as well to know that you are in physically better shape and that you will be able to be more refreshed at the end of a tournament?
It's a huge factor actually. I get back to my father who really believed in exercising, and he always used to tell me, he'd say, if I go and play cards late at night, and these other guys are getting tired and they can't think, because because I'm fit, mentally I'm always good, and that's the reason that you need to do it, so that when you're playing golf tournaments and you get into the heat of the battle, you can maintain you're fit enough that your thoughts are good and that you stay clear. And the other thing, occasionally I get mad on the course, but I know the fitter I am, the less mad I will get on the golf course, and the more I'll be able to take adversity, because my mind is a lot clearer. And so I believe fitness is a huge factor in helping the mind while you're out there.
Yeah, wow, that's great. So let's get into it here a bit. I mean, you've had quite a few wins in your professional golf career, and what do you see as the consistent habits that make you, what makes Phil Jonas successful when it comes to thinking?
I would say I could have done a better job over my life. I've been more positive. I think I would have done a lot better had I been more positive. Sometimes I would almost say that I look at things in the glass is half empty kind of thing. So I could have had more success, but I believe in it strongly. But I'll tell you this. Obviously I've had a lot of wins in the local tour around here, over 100 easily. But I only really count that I've had 4 wins, and that is the 4 that are on the South African tour, the PGA Tour Canada and PGA Tour of Latinoamerica. So I count those as my wins. And each time I won, I can go back to those events, and I had this great feeling before the week. For example, the first time I won in Peru, I remember playing a practice round, and I was thinking, man, isn't this great that golf has taken me to all these other countries? And that good feeling really helped me win that tournament. And every event that I've won, there's something that happened like that went beyond how I was hitting the ball, how I was swinging, how I was putting. Because sometimes you need more than just that when you're playing, against top class fields. And actually, when I won in Quebec, and this is something I always tell my students that are trying to play on the tour, is that it's very important with who they room with and who they hang out with. So when I won in Quebec, I was hanging out with a great guy called Marty Sheen, who he just has a great outlook. And there were some things that were happening in Quebec that were aggravating a lot of the players. For example, they didn't they let the public play while we were having practice rounds. So it was difficult to have a practice round. The entry fee was slightly more than it usually is, and so there was various things. And Marty kept on me, and he kept saying, we're going to take all this money out of Quebec, so it doesn't really matter, and they put up the money, we're going to it's like stealing, and he kept harping, and I started feeling really good about things, and the whole time he was like that, to the point that, and even he was even there, because I was in a playoff with Aaron Overholter, and he was even in a playoff. I was even in a playoff, and Aaron Overholter had this 20-footer on the last hole to tie me. And Marty kept saying to me while I was standing there with him after the round, and he kept saying, he's going to make it. You better be prepared for a playoff. He's going to make this putt. You better know that you're going to go in the playoff. And the guy did make it, and I was prepared for the playoff. So, that shows how important it is who you rooming with, who you're hanging out with. There was always a saying that you should never hang out with a bad putter.
Yeah.
So I found I always, so every tournament I won, there's been something like that. And so, when I go and play now, I try and recreate those good feelings, but sometimes it's, it might not work, or
yeah. Well, I'm a big believer in what you just said about choosing the people that you room with or travel with or hang out with. I think it does have a huge influence on not only just on a weekly basis, but even on a career basis. As the people, if you're going to hang out with successful people or successful putters, those types of things and their mentality will tend to rub off on you a little bit, just like you had mentioned with Marty in Quebec. So so I definitely buy into that, and I think that's a great tip for people as well, to just be cautious and be listening and paying attention to the people that you are hanging out with, and what do they speak like, and what do they think about. And if you're going to spend time with those people, you'll start thinking like they do. So pretty important. So you said there's those week special things have happened, and that obviously translates onto the course. Are there things that you recognize, that you talk to yourself about, or you say to yourself when you're on the course, or the way that you think specifically on a certain, when you're hitting a shot, or anything like that stands out in those special weeks?
No, nothing really, because once you're playing. I mean, obviously it's it's just it's a matter of feeling good about where you are, feeling happy. If you do that, you'll always do better, than what your physical ability will allow. So, some weeks you might feel really good about things, but your game's not that good. But you'll do better than if you thought badly about it. So, I always, in trying to, the weeks where there's lots of stuff bothering me, those are always difficult to do well. And the key there is to try and get yourself out of it. There might be some things that have happened in your life, or your hotel room might not be good, a good situation, or there's stuff that can get to you, but you have to learn how to separate yourself from that when you're on the course. And it's quite often it's about distracting yourself.
Yeah.
One of the most important things I learned with Vision 54 is, when you do have bad thoughts and things aren't going your way, and it's hard to get them out of your mind. So what you have to do is you have to learn how to distract yourself so that you can start thinking about something else. For example, if you walk up onto a tee and you see water left, and you keep saying, okay, I don't want to look at the water, that's not going to help you.
Right.
But if you do see the water left, if you just and things are happening, if you distract yourself from that, and that means you have to think about something else. You have to look for something else, and it could be something you see, something you feel, something you smell, something you hear. Anything where you distract yourself, where you're absolutely not thinking about the water anymore. Then you can refocus where you want to go and what you want to do. And the same, it can be said about things that are distracting you when you're playing in a tournament. You can, if things aren't going well, you have to separate yourself, and there can be various things. I mean, it can be something simple, like your luggage didn't arrive on time, or the weather's bad, or you don't necessarily like the course. So you have to do things that can distract you so that you can refocus.
Yeah, no, that's it's a good tip. I mean, you have to recognize that you're thinking those thoughts, and then of course it sounds like the solution for you and what you've learned with Vision 54 is to refocus and as you say, distract yourself from that. So it's a good strategy. What as far as Vision 54 and Rotella and Coop, what are the types of things that you've learned from them that have applied, that you've applied to your game, such as what you just mentioned?
Dr. Richard Coop, while he was great, it was such a long time ago. I don't remember that much about him. But Bob Rotella, I remember, especially spending 4 days with him basically locked up in a hotel room.
Okay.
The stuff, that with him, the mental side in golf is so simple.
Yes.
But we complicate it so much.
Couldn't agree more.
It's just as simple as it could be. And basically, in a nutshell, it is, don't think, really. Just trust your instincts. Do those kind of things. We can all hit a golf ball. We don't have to think about how we hit a golf ball. It's like Bob Rotella's book. It's a great. That Golf's Not a Game of Poker is a great book. But basically, it could have been done in like 5 pages. You know what I mean? And that's all we actually need. We don't need more than that.
Certainly, the simpler you can make it, the better.
Yeah. So the big thing with Rotella when I saw him was it was about maybe just trusting myself and not trying to be who I wasn't. Because for a long time when I was playing, in the late 80s and early 90s, Nick Faldo had come along, and Nick Faldo had changed his swing and he revamped his swing, and everything was different. So we all wanted to kind of swing like Nick Faldo. All the guys that weren't on the PGA Tour at the time, they were trying and they were practicing hard and they were becoming very technical, because Faldo looked like he was technical. He might not have been that technical, but he looked extremely technical.
Right.
And so that's what we all thought was the right thing. And I basically, I suffered through that for a lot of years. And if I had just listened to, my wife who teaches, if I'd listened to her and she had said, your swing's pretty good, just believe in it. If I'd listened to her, I would have been a lot better off. And so when I saw Dr. Rotella, basically he said, we were talking, and he said, well, your wife knows exactly what she's talking about. You should be listening to her, as opposed to keep trying to change your swing and do stuff like that. He basically said, trust what you do. Now, obviously, if you've got swing issues, you got to fix those. But
sure.
Everybody swings differently, and that's what I've learned. That's one of the things I learned from all the people I've played with. And when I teach, I try not to teach everybody to swing the same, because everybody swings differently, and you've got to take what you do and make it as good as it can be, and not to think, and trust your instincts. And
so how do you that's trusting your swing and trusting yourself to be able to hit a shot is really important. But how do you actually do that? How can you just trust yourself and swing freely? I mean, obviously that kind of comes and goes, but is there anything that you have that helps you to just trust yourself?
You're quite right. It is very hard. It's a lot harder than just saying. Well, firstly, you need a bit of a trigger. You need something that gets you going, because it's very hard to swing without thinking about anything.
Right.
In my case, dealing with me, and this is not the same for everybody else.
Right.
But I learned golf in an era that isn't now, where people with video cameras and all those kind of things. I learned golf by hitting different shots. I learned golf when there were no 150 trees, there were no color-coded flags, so you had to use your eyes, and you had to play by feel.
Right.
And so for me to trust myself is to be more creative, and that is to hit different shots. To see a shot and hit it. Hit a fade, hit a draw, rather than working on my swing.
Yeah.
It's about trying to be creative, and I learned that again when I went to see the great Vision 54 ladies. They basically said, you need to be more creative. You need to hit different shots. That's what makes you better. That's your personality. Now everybody's obviously different, but so you have to play to your personality, and so for me, trusting myself and doing it is focusing on what I can control, and that is the club I want to hit, all those kind of things, then I can trust myself. When I don't trust myself, it's when, I'm focusing on, whether I'm folding my right arm or not on the backswing.
Right,
or,
right.
Those are the things that make you can't think when you, when you're playing.
Definitely. So do you...
It took me a long time, and I'm still learning that. Because a guy called John Bland, who was a great player in South Africa, I played with him one day, and he had a bad grip and a bad swing, but he hit the ball great. And he hit the ball great under pressure, so actually his swing was good.
Right.
And so one day I said to him, what do you think about when you're playing? We were playing in the tournament, and he goes, I don't think of anything. He says, and the exact example he used, he says, when Seve Ballesteros had the chip on the 18th hole to beat Nick Price in the British Open, I think it was 1988, he said, if he was thinking about there's no way he would hit the ball the right speed.
Right.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah. So with your, the creativity that you use in your game and that helps you to kind of, be more trusting. Are you a visual player as far as that goes? Like, do you do a lot of visualization on the course and seeing the shot that you want to play? And is that sort of what your kind of final thought is in your pre-shot routine?
Actually, I hardly do any visualization.
Okay.
I'm a totally a feel player.
Okay.
And I'll feel a shot and, feel, I suppose that there is some sort of visualization, but I don't actually see how some people see the ball in the air before they hit it?
Right.
Some people do that. I don't do that. And, it's important not, and I would say that to people that are listening, it's important to find out what works for you, because some people, visualize, the shot they want to hit. Some people, like Nick Price, for example, he picks his target, and when he's looking at the ball, he's seeing the target in his eye.
Right.
I couldn't do that either.
Right.
I tried that as well. So there's various ways that you can do it. So, that's the way I kind of feel it, and I'm a very quick player, so.
Yeah.
That's how I play. I just sort of feel it, and I'm very. And when I'm doing my best, I'm very instinct. I use my instincts, and I don't second guess myself. I'm able to make decisions, decisive decisions.
Yes.
Which is very important.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And you've kind of reinforced a message that I got from Neil Smith. I interviewed Neil. You remember Neil, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And, I interviewed Neil not too long ago, and he had mentioned exactly that about, some players do visualize and they do see that shot and others don't. And in his experience, there's, I think he said up to 5 different areas that people may focus on, that he's experienced at least, and there could be more as well. Some focus on that vision in the target. Others focus on, maybe a certain body movement or a feeling, as you say, in your hands, or maybe they feel the club a certain way, or some people just don't think about anything, and that's probably most common in the ideal performance state. But so what does that feel? I mean, kind of hard to describe a feeling, I suppose, but is it a feeling in your hands or in your body, or what? What can you say about that?
Well, when I talk about feel, it's more like the shot I want to hit. So it could be I feel that I'm going to hit a low shot or a high shot, and then I kind of create that feeling, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm going to hit a fade or a draw.
Yeah.
And so, the best way, I always say that, when you're teaching someone how to fade or draw, you teach them the physical way how to do it, but it never works until you get to the point where you just feel it.
Right.
And you're doing all those physical things, but it just happens. And so that's kind of what I feel like. I get in and feel like I'm going to hit a low, high, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I feel. And I'll say, when I'm under pressure, one of the things that I have to make sure that I do is I have to get the tension out of my arms and hands.
Okay.
because tension is a killer. It's a killer for the golf swing. And so, when you tense, you have to do things. Again, you have to learn how to distract yourself. Because, and to be honest with you, last week, and I came 8th in the tournament in Switzerland, I bogeyed the last 2 holes, and I didn't do a very good job of what I'm trying to tell you I did here, but hopefully I learned from it. And that is, when you're under pressure and things are going on, and you're in a situation and you have a chance to make a lot more money than you than you came with.
Yeah.
You've got to get those thoughts out of your head so that you don't have tension in your arms, and you're not focusing on the things that are not good for you. And then again, you need that distraction. So you have to do things to distract yourself so that you get back to focusing on the one shot at a time and not getting ahead of yourself, or not thinking about the putt that you just missed on the previous hole, but being focused on what you have to do at that time. And that's a great thing for pressure and stuff. Pressure's obviously all self-inflicted, and obviously, when you're in a tough situation, you're going to feel nervous and apprehensive. But it's good if there's a degree of it that's very good. It's when you go over that edge that's bad.
Right.
But the most important thing is, and you won't go over that edge if you think about what you've got to do right there. So, right then it might be, the first thing I've got to do is pull this 8-iron out of my bag. Instead of thinking, I'm putting the 8-iron out of my bag, but I better not bogey this hole, or I better not hit it right here, or, because right there you're thinking ahead of what you're doing.
Sure.
If you think about what you need to do right there and then, the pressure will not be that bad, because you're focusing on what you can focus on and what you can control. And you don't really want to control things in golf. There's the old saying, give up control to gain control, is very true in golf. But if you just stay in the present, the pressure will not be debilitating.
Yeah. Do you have anything specific that helps you to stay in the present? I mean, what do you use to distract yourself from thinking about things that you don't want to?
Well, you've got to find things. So everybody's different. But the things that I use to distract myself would be, I might just say, okay, I'm going to listen to see what sounds I can hear. Can I hear the birds tweeting? Or I could say, and these are the things that work for me. Or I say, okay, I look for the tallest tree around. So I'll start looking on the horizon. I'll try and see which is the tallest tree.
Yeah.
Or I'll take a tee out of my pocket and I'll feel the tee, and I'll try and feel the texture of the tee. Because once I'm doing that, I'm actually not. I'm thinking about feeling the texture of the tee.
Right. Yeah. No.
So now I've distracted myself, and now I can say, okay, what do we have to do here? What's the yardage? Where's the wind? What kind of shot do I need to hit to be successful? Where do I want to land the ball? And all that. And if I'm doing that, hey, listen, anybody can hit a bad shot from that. But if you're doing that, you won't be helping yourself hit a bad shot.
Right.
Because now you're focusing on the job at hand. Yep. And you're not thinking about, hey, if I can par these last 2 holes, I'm going to finish third.
Right.
Or I'm going to finish, because now I'm thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And when you think ahead, bad things happen. Or if you think behind.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not focused on what you need to do at that moment. So, I mean, that distracts you from what you need to do.
Yeah. So, I don't have big tools. I mean, my ways of doing things have been very simple, but that's kind of how I've done things all my life. Like some other guys might be, some people that are very technical, they might have other ways of doing things. But for me, it's a very simple way, and when it's good, it works.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it doesn't work every time because that's golf.
Well, that's exactly it. So, let's talk a little bit about pre-shot routine. I mean, do you have things that you use in your routine that help you, be consistent with executing each shot?
I think I do a lot of things well in my routine, but I'm not really sure exactly what I do.
Okay.
I worked on a pre-shot routine with Dr. Coop, and then I've just let it evolve. Actually, you mentioned Neil Smith. I remember one year I was playing badly on the Canadian Tour, and I saw Neil, and he was a good player, and he's obviously a good golf psychologist. He's got degrees in that, and he's done a great job. And I thought I'd really just aggravate Neil, and I walked up to Neil and I said, I'm going to play tomorrow with no pre-shot routine. And he said, you don't need a pre-shot routine. He says, pre-shot routine is just there to make you feel comfortable. So I was trying to aggravate him, and he basically told me, but in any case, a pre-shot routine is somewhat important. And the big thing, but it's important that you do the same thing all the time.
Right.
But it's not important that you consciously do the same thing all the time. It's, somebody measured Tiger Woods when he was playing, and just about every shot was, to the millisecond. But he wasn't saying, okay, I'm 2 seconds in, I've got to do this.
No, for sure.
It just happened, because it just has to happen when you're under the gun. You've got to do the same thing when you're playing for fun as when you're under the gun. And because you don't want your mind to detect that it's an important shot. And so I basically try to make my pre-shot routine sort of very non-existent, if you know what I mean. I don't think about it.
Right.
I know I do certain things, and I'm sure that I pretty much most of the time I take exactly the same amount of time to hit the ball. And, probably some of the times when I hit bad shots, I'm not taking exactly the same amount of time because other things have got into my head.
Right. Well,
the Vision 54 ladies work a lot on the play box and the think box.
Right.
And the decision and commitment line. But they will tell you that as long as your play box is good, that you don't necessarily need the think box that much.
Well, that's another tip that that Neil had mentioned in my interview with him as well. The goal of a pre-shot routine is really to get your confidence level to play the shot. But if you arrive at a shot, and for a player like yourself who plays by feel, if you arrive there and you know that it's an 8-iron with a little draw, well, you don't need to really spend a whole lot of time on yardage and figuring out what type of shot you're going to play and standing behind the ball. You've already made those decisions, so get in there and hit it.
Yeah.
And that's that's an important piece. I mean, that if you're going to go through that whole routine, well, if you're already feeling good about the shot, that can certainly only take you away from that. So
that's the way I've done it. And when I teach people to have pre-show routines because I think it's important, but I don't necessarily totally adhere to it with myself.
Yeah. Okay.
If you know what I mean. I believe that I do better when I play by instinct and
yeah. So what about goal setting? Are you the type of person that does goal setting or not?
I do a little bit. I'm not a huge goal setter. I do put things out there and try and achieve them. I almost do it with other things in my life as opposed to golf. In golf, I believe in I believe in dreaming big.
Okay.
But not necessarily, because I quite often feel the goals, and I know if they're used properly, they're not used this way. But I always feel like they put parameters on. Like for example, if I set a goal by the end of this year, I want to have done X.
Yeah.
Well, if I haven't done that, do I give up or what do I do? That's always been the dilemma I've had I might need to give up for sure if I'm not doing well. But if I'm getting close to what I want, so let's prolong that goal a few months. If you know what I'm saying, that's the way I look at it. So I don't like definitive goals, but I must tell you, I had when I wanted to get on the senior tour, I had that as a goal. I'm going to try and get on the senior tour, and
right.
I had a thing on the championship. Now, it wasn't successful, but I had a thing where I get my brush out of my car, out of my closet, my drawers
Yeah.
in the morning. I had a thing written on there, and it went, and I still actually have it, and I stuck it in there, and I said, in 2011, November 1, 2011, or no, it was December 1, 2011, I am now a full member of the Champions Tour.
Okay.
And every morning I'd read it, to kind of reinforce, but it didn't, obviously it didn't happen.
Sure.
But, I do have goals, and I do focus on things, but I rather like to dream and think about doing things well. So, I like to say, and I tell my students this, when you go to bed at night, you can think about playing golf well, or you can think about playing golf badly. So how about you choose thinking about playing it well? So I would dream about, hitting good shots in a tournament that I would maybe want to win. You know, and to me, that's helped more than say setting goals. And sometimes they're a little unrealistic,
Well, you know what? I think what you're...
You might come close.
Yeah, but what you're saying is really, I think, really important. I mean, I think the purpose of really, in a sense, of writing a goal down or setting a goal is to do what you're already doing, which is imagining yourself being successful in achieving the goal. And if what you're doing is imagining yourself being successful in doing what you want to do, well, I think that sort of, it kind of determines what you're going to do the next day or down the road or this year.
Yeah. And Brett, I get, and everything that I've done has been based on a lot of the tournaments I've played with people. And a lot of it is that everybody's different. So I would never, ever tell one of my young students that they shouldn't set goals. In actual fact, there's some I encourage to set goals. Hey, you got to set a definitive goal. But I think it's important to find out what works for each individual.
Definitely.
I always tell my students that are good when they're getting better at golf, I say, there's probably going to be about 3 things in your swing that are going to be your common flaws your whole life. And when you found those 3 things, you basically arrived. Because every time you struggle, you just need to look at one of those 3 things.
Right.
And it could be 3 different things. It doesn't have to be. So I think it's the same thing, in terms of setting goals, and that it takes a while. People's lives, you have to find out what works for you. Some people are very setting exact goals. By this is going to be the company, or I want to be the assistant GM, or whatever the case is.
Sure.
And they're very good at doing those things. And with other people, it doesn't work. They're better if they just try and do the best they can and go along with it. So I think in golf, and it's about finding what's right for you. And your instructor always needs to see what's they need to learn what's the best way for each individual to succeed.
Yeah, no, definitely. Everybody is an individual and needs to be treated as such, because everybody has a different swing and a different way of thinking and a different way of being successful. So, I want to ask you a question too about, you started playing competitive golf at a young age, and you had quite a lot of success early with your junior world championships that you won, at the age of 11 or 12. When you win at a young age, does that do you learn something there about winning that helps you to sort of develop the skills of believing in yourself?
Winning is extremely important.
Yeah.
Winning is it breeds winning. You just need to look around. There's guys that win all the time, and so winning at every level and winning as much as you can only help you as a pro. It's a habit. It doesn't matter what level. Like when we have our local little tours around Vancouver, there's only a few guys that ever really win.
Right.
There's other guys that are equally as good.
Yeah.
But they're not used to winning, so they find a way to lose, and the winners find a way to win. And that's the way it is. But winning is a habit, and that's why there's the argument why Tiger Woods won so much and Michelle Wee didn't, because Tiger Woods he played in the odd pro tournament, but when he turned pro, he only
Right.
And so when he turned pro, he just kept, that's what he's always done. Whereas possibly Michelle, I don't want to criticize her, she made a lot of money and everything, but she kept wanting to play with the men, and she kept wanting to play with adults when she was 14. And consequently, she's probably won 20, 30 tournaments in her life. I don't know what she's won. Whereas Tiger Woods has probably won close to 1,000 if you take every little junior tournament that he won.
Sure, yeah.
And so winning, when Tiger Woods has an opportunity to win, it's like he knows how to win. And so I think that I've won a lot of local tournaments, and a 1-round and 2-round events, and I have a hard time counting those. But they are wins, I guess.
Well, that's true.
But I've only written 4 times the way I see it. And so, to me, it's because I've only won 4 times. Last week, I could possibly have won that tournament in Switzerland had I won a little more. And that's why it's also difficult on the senior tour playing, because a lot of the guys have been winning a lot. And so then they become a senior, they just keep winning. And then there's certain guys that haven't won a lot, and so they come 3rd or 4th a lot, which isn't bad.
Right.
But they're just not in the habit of doing it. And it'd be great to be in the habit of winning,
Yeah, no, I believe in what you just said as well. I think it is. I think winning is a habit, and just like every other part of the game, you develop these habits, and whether it be shooting low scores or winning or wherever your performance level is, it becomes a habit. And I think winning is one that's it's hard to change, but it can be done, and people can break through, I think, with the right frame of mind and thinking about it and approaching it the right way. But certainly the more wins that you have, it does become habitual, and it does make it easier for you to be comfortable when you're in a situation to win.
No doubt.
So, Phil, what else, is there anything that comes to your mind when we talk about the mental side of this game that kind of stands out in your mind that you might recommend for people to think about or to work on that can take them to the next level?
I think that it's important that people, when you evaluate yourself, it's important to understand what went wrong in the golf shot. So quite often, and the Vision 54 ladies always, they talk, and it's totally true, and it's great. Whether it's something physical, so your back sore, or it's mental, you were thinking the wrong thing, or it's emotional, or it's social or spiritual, any of those things. And when we talk about spiritual, it's not, it's about the spirit of the game. Why you play golf, whether you like golf, and people who don't like golf don't swing well, because that's where it comes out. So what they basically say is all those things. It always shows up in the technical side of it. So if you think badly, it shows up in your swing. If your back's bad, it shows up in your swing. If you're aggravated to the guys you're playing with, it shows up in your swing. But it's not your swing that's the problem. It's the other thing, and it's about dealing with it. So I teach a lot of people. They always come to me about their swing, but is it their swing, or is it how they're thinking?
Right.
And so that's what you have to do. You have to decipher what it is that's causing the problem. And then once you've done that, then you're good. But it's very easy. You think about not hitting it in the water, so you make a bad swing, so now it's your swing's fault.
Right.
It's not your swing's fault.
Right.
And so that's very important, I believe. And, about getting yourself into a state of being decisive. I think a lot of people that play golf aren't decisive. I see it sometimes when I watch the LPGA Tour. It looks like the caddy is trying to hit the shot for the person. The caddy's telling the person what to do. Doesn't the pro know what they're trying to do?
Yeah.
Why has the caddy got to tell them exactly what to do? And so I think that being decisive is very important. So you when you get up, you say, okay, this is a 7-iron. I'm going to hit it 20 feet left of the pin. I'm going to do this, and you're very decisive. It might be wrong, but if you're decisive, you'll hit a good shot.
Absolutely.
It might be the the wrong club, and that's fine. But I'd rather be decisive and wrong than right and indecisive. And I think a lot of I would say, if we get back to Vision 54, they have the think box, they have the decision or commitment line, and then they have the play box. So for me, I think that the decision and commitment, that line that you cross to get into the play box, that's very important, because you have to be committed to what you're doing. You're going to hit a good shot if you're committed. If you stand over a 4-footer and you go, I think it's right lip.
Right.
Now you're not committed. I'd rather someone say, it's right lip, and maybe the putt swings more than right lip. But at least if you're decisive, you'll make a good swing and a good stroke. And I find that a lot of people need to be more decisive and more committed to the shot that they're trying to hit. And then they'll play quicker, and we'll all be happier.
That was Phil Jonas from the European Senior Tour, and I'm Brett Taylor from Tour Tactics.